So please allow me to start with today's conference, having the title of Energy Policy Consideration. Please allow me to introduce our eminent guests, Commissioner Ms. Violeta Bulc, who is participating in our conference for the second time in a row. It's really our honor, Violeta, that you're here. Your agreement to do this was actually a motive for us to really seriously tackle the organization of this conference. You said, be specific and do really something. So I took it to my heart, and I'm now carrying over the message to you. Thank you, Minister Gašperšič, the Minister of Energy, and your team. Last year, you were here in full composition and you were here till the end. This year you are back with an even greater, larger team. So I'm actually feeling a bit awkward. So I hope that we will really do what we aim to do today. We will do our best, and if we are not successful, then of course we will continue with our work. And State Secretary, I promise you that we will do what we are here for. It is my great honor to say that the interest in this event among embassies is growing. This year, 8 embassies have expressed interest to participate, including ambassadors, representatives of embassies, and it's indeed my deep honor to host you here. I would like to thank all participants who have come here from all across Europe, including Russia, for this event. I'm grateful that you took the time to prepare the materials and that you invested the energy to be here. I would also like to thank the media who are also here with us. Today's event and such events are always an opportunity to touch upon other issues that are very important and concern the field of energy. It is also my duty to thank the sponsors, those who have made this event financially possible. Borzen, Plinovodi, Energija, Gen Energija, Eles, Energetika Ljubljana, and Sodo. As I said at the beginning, this is the 4th consecutive conference. In 2014, we were dealing with the status in energy. In 2015, the necessary cooperation and coordination between policies, energy policies. Last year, we were discussing the energy roadmap, and we have actually come up with very specific resolutions that we have then forwarded to the government, and they are now publicly also discussed as the departure points for the National Energy Program. And this year the conference will be devoted to the topic of energy policy in combination with the climate policy. So energy policy consideration is today's topic. Why this topic? Since last year, well, actually many things have happened. Particularly, they refer to the policies and commitments related to the climate and energy policies. Undoubtedly, a very important thing that has happened in the meantime were the commitments that were adopted at the end of 2015, in December 2015 in Paris, during the United Nations COP conference. Slovenia also has adopted certain national commitments, and thinking about the fact that we still have an applicable document that was adopted by the National Assembly in 2004, we are forgetting actually sometimes that we are all obliged to amend it, not only the government, also the deputies in the National Assembly, and we should all contribute to that. So the purpose of today's conference is also to find and to search for additional avenues so as to arrive to a more updated document. Why do we need such a document? Because markets, but also the energy market in particular, are changing dramatically. The European market is, of course, part of the global energy market. Last year, indicators, if you just look at the prices, these are under tremendous pressure. So companies need to adapt. Consumers are becoming ever more demanding and active, and quite obviously there are requests for new services. So in the framework of the energy and climate goals, policies need to be designed. They are the foundation for legislation, and then the legislative acts are then the basis for regulatory framework. And this is all necessary for all actors in the field of energy who want to act to the benefit of final users. Looking at the national level, we have the transport, construction sectors, the economy sector, agriculture, training sectors, and other sectors, each of them having their specific policies. And we feel that they need to be integrated, including with the foreign policy, and all these policies have to be oriented in a new direction. What is the current situation in Slovenia? Let me just mention two very topical documents. The first one is document of the World Energy Council that was published last year, at the end of last year, and it deals with energy in member states according to the three criteria: reliability, sustainability, and competitiveness. Slovenia is taking the 25th place in that document. Taking a look at the analysis that was recently conducted by the World Economic Forum, you know this forum by Davos. So the World Economic Forum actually analyzed 128 countries, and 18 criteria were adopted, and Slovenia ranked 15. What does this mean? It actually means that Slovenia has potentials. We have the indicators pointing that our energy sector is rather stable, and also our society and stakeholders are rather stable. These analyses also reveal that it is possible to maintain this level and to progress only if we introduce new services and new activities in the energy sector. It goes without saying that one further proof that we are not too bad is also to be derived from the prestigious title that was awarded to Ljubljana yesterday. Namely, Ljubljana was yesterday nominated, or actually awarded the title of the Green Capital of Europe. So are we capable of carrying out a transformation? I'm deeply concerned that we are. Let us look at some emphasis. The energy sector only has 2.5% of employees from the economy. However, it contributes 13.7% to the GDP, and the added value per employee is still at 2.5 times higher than the average in the economy sector. So there are opportunities for our sector. And just to give you, by way of an illustration, a family, which is the foundation cell of a state and of society, we see that energy services costs, so electricity, hot water, transport, these costs are 6 times higher than the costs of telecommunication services. But what is important in this? If you analyze this, you see that this share is constantly growing at the expense of other services, including the energy. So we are witnessing a digitalization era. This, of course, brings with it new services that are there on the market, and unless we apply them, somebody else will. What does this mean? The government has to introduce certain activities which will be oriented and steered by a national energy program. We thus want to encourage the implementation of such projects that will make this possible. This is why this year's conference was broken down into 3 blocks of content. And I would like to thank Commissioner for her initiative, but also I would like to thank the informal gatherings with the colleagues from the ministry. During those informal meetings, perhaps they didn't really feel it, but these colleagues really had a major impact on this conference, allowing for this broad spectrum of participants and lectures. So we will be dealing with the climate energy policy, then we will be dealing with the formulation and shaping of the new market, the energy transformation, and then the third block, which is extremely important, and I really would like you to stay till the end of the conference, the last block will be devoted to the project that we need. Where are these projects running up against hindrances, and how can we make use of all the financial mechanisms, and how can we use the funds that are available in Europe to this end? So today we wish to discuss what it is that we need in Slovenia to achieve our targets. Let me conclude now with my introductory word. I would like to hand over the floor now to the member of the Management Board of the Chamber of Business and Commerce. And then you can hand over the floor as you please. Thank you very much. Dear Commissioner for Transport, distinguished Minister Peter Gašperšič, distinguished Secretary for Energy, Director of the Directorate, distinguished guests from abroad, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen. Our society today is based on energy. There is no life without energy, without energy supply, without a reliable and sustainable energy supply. The economy, in particular, is very much dependent on safe and secure energy supply. The businesses want to have energy at their disposal at every moment at affordable prices. This means that only this way their economic products can be competitive on the global market. In our chamber, we are very much aware that the energy forms the basis of our economy, of our competitiveness, and our competitiveness guarantees the standard of living in Slovenia. This is why we believe that we need to devote much attention to these issues. Today, competitiveness of strategic countries is measured by the price of energy, by the reliability and the competitiveness of the economy and added value of our work. The energy sector within the economy stands up for 1/10 of revenues almost. The energy sector also represents a significant share of employment and of the baseline added value. Of course, sustainable energy is necessary for the functioning of our society and our country, but of course the competitiveness and the price are the foundations that guarantee the economic growth. And I can say that recently the economic growth in Slovenia has also been based on relatively low energy prices and reduced fuel prices. What does the economy wish for? It wishes that discussions on the future energy supply for Slovenia, Europe and the world are focused primarily on the reliable supply, high quality supply, sustainably oriented supply, competitive supply and also affordable supply so that all categories of inhabitants can afford it. Without these orientations, businesses do not see a chance on the global market. I can say that countries are closing their borders, they are closing the access to cheap resources, they are deciding on very different energy policies, and this of course leads to different prices for the same product, and these prices range for even 40%, and this is not that much visible on oil and gas, but particularly on energy. With this, they want to give advantage to their own specific economies. I hope that today's discussion will be focused on what the businesses need. This is what we all live from. We want that our future is focused on low carbon society. It should be based on opportunities that are ample and abound in Slovenia. I know that we have much positive experience with renewable sources, with hydro energy. We also have very good experience with the use of nuclear energy, which actually stands for a significant share of our supply and actually also of the supply within the region. And we wish that we would be more focused on low carbon economy. But with so saying, we should also tap the opportunities afforded by the wood biomass. Of course, Slovenia should be more competitive also in terms of the carbon footprint and our competitiveness in green technologies, because businesses, of course, contribute both on the consumption side as well as on the side of investments and energy management. I wish all participants a very positive debate. I hope that you will be touching on the Paris conclusions, but also please take into account the real data and also the realistic opportunities. Thank you very much for the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to the Commissioner, Ms. Violeta Bulc, and the Minister of Infrastructure, Mr. Gašperšič. I would also like to welcome all the representatives of the government of the Republic of Slovenia, directors of businesses, and a warm welcome, as Mr. Žlahtič has already pointed, welcome to the representatives of embassies. The energy sector is very active and wishes to establish close links with all those who are present in this space. So a warm welcome to the active and less active participants, to the representatives of the media who will then report about the conclusions of this conference. A warm welcome to all the participants in general. The Energy Industry Chamber is the co-organizer of these conferences together with the World Energy Council. I think we can already speak about a tradition of cooperation, and I do believe that this fourth energy consideration conference will yield positive results and will influence our further work. The topics of this conference, I believe, may assist the adoption of further documents in the field of energy policy. The Energy Industry Chamber fully supports this process. It wishes to see a fully fledged energy concept and energy strategy. For us, such strategy and concept is a clear orientation for our future work. In Slovenia, our chamber is the largest association of businesses. It brings together about 70 companies, and this includes all energy sectors, from production to distribution to transmission, sales, and energy services in general. As we have already said, the energy sector generates more than 10 billion euros of revenues, which represents about 13% of revenues in Slovenia in general. And this is a very high percentage comparable to European indicators. Our members are very ambitious. We are always seeking new opportunities for our projects, for our tasks, and for our services. I know that a certain period of research is needed. But then, when this period is over, we need a transparent legislation. It was conceived already in 2014, and we look for a clear regulatory framework. I can say that we have caught the rhythm now, and we are now quite familiar with the regulatory framework. Our members are grateful for all the work that has been done in this field so far. Today's event is an opportunity to look forward, to see what is happening in the field of energy sector, what is our policy, what is the situation in general. Are we really now entering the stage of digitalization? Are we now in a digital society? Were we capable of recognizing all the opportunities lying ahead of us? And now the key issue is how to go on. All the companies dealing with this field need to catch the momentum and take part in this process. Last but not least, and related to that, all actors, all players in the energy sector, we really need to re-examine our activities and ask ourselves whether we have recognized the momentum. So the next issue is the role of the state. How can the state bring to completion the concept of energy policy? Many players have been involved in this process, representatives of the industry, of businesses. We all took part in the governmental debates. However, the final act is missing, a final act that could be realized through the adoption of the National Assembly. Our chamber has the power and is ready to commit itself for the achievement of these goals. In Slovenia, we're not on a bad path. Let us look at the structural conditions, price conditions. Let us look at the other European countries, and we can see that our assessment can be positive. Just as last year and the years before, this year's conference will also yield conclusions in the end, and these final conclusions will also cover the way ahead, our future orientations. I wish you all successful deliberations and a pleasant day here in our company. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to now give the floor to the Minister of Infrastructure, Mr. Peter Gašperšič. Please, can you share a few words with us? Distinguished Commissioner, Ms. Violeta Bulc, ladies and gentlemen, high-level guests. By way of introduction, I would like, first of all, to congratulate the municipality of Ljubljana for the prestigious title of the Green Capital of Europe. It is a great honor of me to be able to greet you for the fourth time at the international conference devoted to energy considerations, and I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the organizers for the excellent organization. On the global level, we need to reconsider the energy concept. energy prices are low, which results in a difficult situation for businesses, and the governments need to align their concepts with the achievement of climate goals. That is why they need to assure a safe and competitive energy supply. We are all facing the change of thinking. We are about to enter low-carbon society with a lower level of carbon emissions. That is why I think that such considerations are not only welcome but also necessary, indispensable. Slovenia is about to finalize its energy concept, and in doing so it takes into account all the public debates. We are speaking about our future. We know what the current situation is, we know what are our future goals, but we need to find the path to achieve those goals by taking into account, of course, the conditions and principles such as sustainability and competitiveness. Of course, this is not done in isolation. While preparing the energy concept for Slovenia, we are closely looking at the energy union that is being drafted on the European level. We need a transparent and reliable system for the management of the energy union. Thus, we will be able to ensure that the European Union will achieve its goals and at the same time ensure flexibility and transparency. And this is the framework within which we work at our ministry when we are preparing the energy strategy. We will thus partake in designing the social development in Slovenia, always taking into account the sustainable goals for the next 20 years, or if we take a broader look, for the next 40 years. The member states have reached an agreement and said that climate energy plans will be one of the foundation documents of the European Union. And what is now being prepared are standardized methodologies about major indicators and projections at the European level. So at this moment we see two processes taking place in parallel: the preparation of the energy concept at the European level and the preparation of the energy concept at the national Slovenian level. This is more than welcome, because this will allow us to harmonize the contents and to align them. This alignment, however, is not only important when it comes to the relation between the states and the European Union. It has to be achieved within Slovenia itself. As you know, we have devoted a lot of attention to this issue, and we are well aware how important it is to have the strategic policies harmonized. This will all contribute to a sustainable development of our business. Ladies and gentlemen, I am convinced that only a constructive cooperation at the national and European levels can yield results that will be better and better in the future. I wish for the energy concept to be adopted with a large consensus, because in the end everybody will be more satisfied and we will all make that concept our own. I wish you a successful conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Now I'm glad to pass the floor to our Commissioner, Violeta. Please take the floor. Dear colleagues, good morning. It is a very special day for me. I am glad to come back to the conferences rooms and to see people again with whom we have made many shifts possible in the past. I think we have a very interesting and dynamic future ahead of us, because the energy sector and transport are more and more integrated, and this is also my main message for today. I hope that we will be able to open up the new creative channels through which we can also fruitfully cooperate in the future. First, let me thank the organizers for giving and creating this opportunity for us to meet so that we can discuss this very important topic. And thank you all for being here and for really finding the time and thinking it's important enough to discuss about these topics, because through dialogue, through constructive discussions, we can arrive to systemic solutions that are so important today. Fragmented and isolated solutions can resolve some weak signals, but if you want to really efficiently change and achieve the economic, societal and welfare shifts, for that you need systemic approaches. And systemic approaches, of course, require a whole lot of dialogue and cooperation. There are three important elements for the economy to function well. Three basic elements that are also the elements of the price. The energy sources, everything that is related to the energy, raw materials, and people and human resource competencies. Slovenia is developing its competencies well. It has done a lot in this field. The same goes also for the EU level. But we have two weak points: our own energy sources and, of course, raw materials. This makes it very normal that the topics that are related to the decarbonization, to renewables, and to the new European direction, which aspires for a higher energy self-sufficiency. So all this is not. It is not uncommon that all these policies are now streamlined. It is also not odd that the European Commission, headed by President Juncker, has set itself as one of the key priorities to establish the Energy Union. Of course, the Energy Union pursues two very important goals. First, to guarantee higher independence of the European Union from resources beyond Europe, and the second, to increase the share of renewables in the structure of energy sources. Here, the main emphasis goes to the renewable energy sources. Last year's conference in Paris, COP21, really had a major impact on all mindsets, not only in the European Union. Of course, the European Union was one of the key actors advocating ambitious goals, but it actually also impacted global mindset. And I can say this, even though I was a bit dissatisfied because the maritime and air transport were not finally included in this deal, despite EU efforts. But this year is devoted to a large extent to negotiations at the level of the international organizations, ICAO and Maritime Organization. So in those negotiations, the Paris influence is very positively felt. So it is not a great surprise that the first global agreement on CO2 limits was already reached in February for the air transport, for the air sector. And I'm really confident that in autumn we will also be able to agree on how this is to be measured. And I also hope that the European initiative for the market-based measures will prevail and will bring the world closer to the greater responsibility for our environment. Perhaps it's right for me to first highlight some general frameworks and to give you some main figures that will actually influence all the future energy initiatives. Of course, this is all very much related also to the transport initiatives, because transport today stands for 35% of all energy use in the European Union. Of course, we are the key actors and stakeholders who are very much interested for what is going on in the energy sector. So our strategies will be more and more interlaced and intertwined, because this in the end is also related to the industry policy and primarily to the orientations of the European industry operating in this field. This makes this cooperation thus even more vital. So what are the key aims that we want to, that we need to achieve by 2030? To reduce greenhouse gases and emissions by at least 40% relative to 1990. A big proportion of that has to come from the renewable energy, and at least 27% improvement has to be achieved in terms of the energy efficiency, so the implementation, management and planning. This framework was adopted by the European leaders in October 2014, so this is a relatively fresh commitment and in line with the long-term perspective to move over to the efficient economy and the energy roadmap by 2050 and other roadmaps for transport. This is then all coordinated. What are the key developments that have happened post-Paris? In February, the European Commission has presented the first block of measures for the energy security. Security is, of course, something that requires a lower dependency of energy sources in Europe. With this, we intend to strengthen the reliability of energy supply in the European Union, and let me share 4 key measures in this field. And of course, I hope that they will also be very much represented in the Slovene strategy. First, lower consumption, efficient strategies, concrete projects in this field. Then second, increased energy production, as much as possibly coming from renewable sources. By the end of the year for transport, also the strategy on the introduction of renewable sources in transport will need to be developed. So bioenergy will have to be clearly represented in this strategy, so I very much look forward to our future cooperation in this field, because this will really be very important for how transport develops in the future. Then the development of well-integrated European energy market. Here you play the main role, and then diversification of energy sources, suppliers and pathways. The regulation on reliable gas supply, the Commission encourages that we move from the national approach to the regional approach in the design of measures for energy security. At the same time, we are introducing the solidarity principle among member states. This will, of course, also be vital if we want to maintain this noble note also for the future. Then the strategy for the storage of liquefied natural gas. With this strategy, the European Commission is improving access of member states to the LNG, and the key elements of this specific strategy are to construct the strategic infrastructure for the finalization of the internal energy market, and finding and mapping projects with which we would reduce dependency of EU member states from one single source. And I hope that here Slovenia will also play a role. Then in the strategy for cooling and ventilation, we place most focus on decarbonization of buildings. I hope that Slovenia will here make use of various forms of financing which are intended for this. Now let me just give you some specific ideas as to where we can work together in our joint efforts, so that we might bring the energy sector also efficiently to the transport. As I have mentioned, transport is one of the key consumers or users of the energy. With 24%, transport also contributes to CO2 emissions or greenhouse gas emissions in the European Union. And of course, we are very much challenged in these 2 points, and we have tackled this area seriously. I'm very motivated. Why? Because the oil price has no impact on these two fields. We need to achieve higher energy efficiency and we need to achieve decarbonization. And both of these two fields are not related to the oil price. And this makes it possible for us to be even more stable in our strategies. When I was mentioning that approximately 35% of energy sources is used by transport, well, of course, this is also a motive for me, but also more than 92% of all energy sources used in transport are oil related, and this motivates me greatly. And with this in mind, we will present a communication still this year, and of course to this aim the European Commission will design very clear strategies with a very clear action plan that will discuss everything that is supposed to happen in the transport area in the sense of decarbonization. So this will be a very important document, so I invite you to take a look at it when it is there, so that we can all see how we can cooperate successfully in the future. Why? Because the biggest transport challenge for me is, if I want to electrify transport, then I need to know and I need to be aware, or I need to ensure that the system is stable, and here I need to count on you that you will make this possible. Of course, we need to implement the smart meters as well. I don't have the figure with me for Slovenia now, but without this we can't really implement these bold transport steps. I'm also very interested in how the smart grids will be managed. Where will they be available? Because if we want to aggressively tap the renewable sources, electrification and everything else that is necessary for transport, we can't do it without your support. Therefore, coordination of policies, strategies and concrete action plan will be of essential importance. So I'm inviting you that you at the level of the Ministry contribute to the successful cooperation between these two sectors, and that you also are very much present on the European arena. Please be more active here, because what I found first when I arrived to Brussels was that Slovenes are not there at all. We still perceive the European Union as a union that is actually there to put us under pressure and that is penalizing us for what we do wrong, but actually we are all European Union, so be more present, partake in various platforms where interests come together and where various stakeholders come together, because through these platforms we get the right orientations as commissioners. All commissioners find these platforms to be the key source of inspiration. It is very important for us to cooperate with various institutions, with various institutes. These institutes and these stakeholders inspire us in our reflections as to how we should steer the frameworks, the regulatory framework, because otherwise we're there for the art itself, and this is not our purpose. So please be more active, make use of all the opportunities that are there, and please activate yourself in the phases of thinking and designing strategies, because these are the foundations for the action plans. Next year, the next planning period will be prepared. So start working actively so that you are involved into these plans, because once the operational program is adopted, then there is no room for you any longer to bring anything new to this plan. Sorry to be so blunt, but these are the constant challenges. Very often we see that stakeholders get alive and wake up after the operational plans have already been adopted. So the next year will be an extremely important year for activation and for the preparation of the right orientations that will then be translated into operational plans. Now, some of the highlights as to what will the decarbonization in transport be based on. First and foremost, on the efficiency of cars and energy efficiency in general. Here, of course, we are very much looking up to the energy sources. Here we are trying to ensure a much more efficient transport management. My biggest investment currently is the investment in the tools for the efficient transport management, both in the airport sector. In my period, in my term only, 2.something billion euros will be devoted to the projects that will optimize air transport both in the air as well as on ground. So this is actually one of the best sales articles for the European Union globally. Wherever I go, I am able to sell this very successfully. Then the second project is the ERTMS in the area of railway sector. Again, we want to unify the management of the railway transport so as to ensure its greater efficiency. And this is our second very successful sales product which we are selling globally. And with this, we are of course bringing the European businesses onto the global market, and I'm sure there are such products also in Slovenia. Then the second focus, which I have mentioned on several occasions, is the transition to the energy-less fuels, energy-less demanding fuels. We see carbonless fuel is important. We are now greening the maritime transport through the LNG source for ships, for vessels, and the same is also true for trucks. When it comes to the automotive sector, more emphasis is placed on electrification and hybrid solutions. And now, to encourage you to reflections, I'm very enthusiastic about the exponential shifts that are now happening. 3 electrically propelled ferries have been introduced in the Baltic Sea. The EasyJet has announced high investment into the first hybrid aircraft that will combine bioenergy sources with hydrogen cells. There's the first electricity-propelled smaller plane actually coming from our region, and with hybrid planes, hybrid aircraft, we can decarbonize the air transport very successfully. But first, of course, we need to maximize all the opportunities that arise from better management, and thus we will give the time to the industry to develop new products that will then be able to generate this quantum leap. And primarily, I see a lot of potential from us sitting together behind the same table and working in a systemic manner. I think in so doing, we will be able to see that the energy sector and the transport sector are actually one joint story, one new joint industry. I do not wish to be too long. Of course, I could go on for ages on these topics, but I would really like to say a couple of words on potential sources for funding, which are extremely important for the implementation of all these projects. When it comes to transport, we are now encouraging these changes also in the relation to the energy sources higher efficiency through 3 main mechanisms. The first one is related to the backbone mechanisms. One of them is the Adriatic corridor, and it is financed through the CEF mechanism. This is the financial source which is there to fund all the systemic solutions on these main corridors. It is already during the first call we had a 3-time oversubscription, so we had 3 times the number of projects that we were able to finance, and we already have mapped the projects that are interesting for the FC mechanism, the so-called Juncker plan. Here we are working together with private investors such as the pension funds and insurance funds, and it is estimated that approximately 30 billion or trillion of funds are not utilized, and banks are already running up with the negative interest. So everybody is looking for projects that can enrich the funds. Transport is very interesting for the European institutional investors who are seeking for long-term stability, and their return demands are rather low. I had very successful talks with Prudential, with Generali and some other investors, and their main message is you no longer need to convince us to enter into the transport sector. Now we just need to adapt the regulatory framework so that we can invest into transport, because transport is, of course, finds itself in a very interesting situation because banks were unable to finance the long-term projects in the sense of private investors. And my colleague Commissioner Hill is now introducing major reforms through the capital union so that the framework is constructed which will allow these funds to be channeled also to the transport sector. In order to stimulate these new innovative mechanisms in the transport sector, we will hold a special regional conference in April in Ljubljana on investments in transport. Institutional investors will be there, representatives of the European Commission will be there, representatives from the Western Balkans will be there, because last year we have extended the transport infrastructure, the backbone infrastructure, to all countries in the Western Balkans. And the purpose of all this will be to explain again very clearly what can be financed through which financial mechanisms. And on this basis, we will then present really good projects for June, where the biggest conference will be held in Rotterdam, where we expect more than 1,600 participants, where certain individual blocks will be devoted to individual financing and speed dating for transport projects from the field of transport. So I really hope to see some projects from Slovenia there, and I'm inviting you here to spend time with transport people, transport stakeholders, so that you can design common projects and then obtain the appropriate funds for them. And of course then there's the cohesion mechanism. These are the funds that are devoted to Slovenia to overcome the development gap, but we have to know that Slovenia is more and more successful in terms of its economy, and of course the cohesion funds will be decreasing. So we will have to go over to other financial mechanisms, and we'll have to learn how to implement them efficiently. So I'm inviting you to engage with me in this transformation process so that we know how we can attract sufficient capital and thus remain in this development cycle, which is so important for us to continue working successfully. By way of conclusion, just give me some main development initiatives, because this is another financial mechanism which is now governed by Horizon 2020. Next year again the preparation will start for the next financial period, and it will be really important to get from you the right indices as to what are your thoughts and what are those development components that are necessary so that the energy and transport sectors can efficiently function also in the future. Now we see most need for batteries for the storage of electricity in one form or another, because there is a challenge in the urban areas as to how we can go over to the electrification of transport. We do not know how to bring sufficient energy to urban settlements with what kind of connection. So I will be very glad if I hear any solutions from you. Then all hybrid solutions in the automotive sector, and primarily in relation with the automotive producers, a major strategic orientation deals with the so-called connected vehicles and autonomous vehicles. And under the Dutch presidency, we expect in April a very big conference to take place, which will address these both challenges as well as opportunities. And we expect that a declaration shall be signed by all member states on the future development orientations in this field. So as you can see, various sectors are becoming more and more integrated. Franc has mentioned electrification, transport, decarbonization, and energy. So all these areas are becoming a hybrid of their own, and all these fields need to cooperate together if we want to realize all these economic potentials. My last message: green is business. Commissioners are more and more acting in the role of economic promoters, and when we travel the world we see that we can succeed globally only if we have very good green solutions, because green means efficient, and efficient means also affordable, more affordable. So I'm inviting also the Chamber of Commerce and Industry to encourage the industry both on the side of consumers and producers and new idea generators to take decarbonization as one of the biggest business opportunities, because I can tell you personally, when the European commissioners, as far as European commissioners and European Union are concerned, here the European businesses can be most globally successful. I'm really looking forward to our future cooperation, and I'm really I apologize if I was too long, but as you were giving me this opportunity, I just simply needed to take as much advantage of it as possible. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Well, now we have a task. We need to demolish walls and open up doors, and we have also received a reproach that we are not active enough. I think that is very much true. I think we have a very clear picture now of what we must do, where are the funds available, and I do thank you very much for your visit, and I hope that you will be able to join us at another occasion, so that I will be able to show you the progress we've made, and that you will perhaps point out again where are the challenges. Yes, but only in a dialogue. When the initiatives are right, when the right initiatives will come from your side, of course I will come. Well, yes, that was my idea as well. Whenever we conceive a conference such as this one, we always take into account the fact that at the end we will have specific conclusions, specific contributions. That goes without saying. And now allow me to give the floor to the Vice Mayor of the municipality of Ljubljana, Mr. Dejan Crnek. And of course, I would also like to congratulate the municipality of Ljubljana for receiving this prestigious title. Well, before the Commissioner leaves us entirely, I would also like to thank her for visiting us yesterday at the awards ceremony. Distinguished Minister, organizers, thank you very much for inviting me to this conference. First of all, I would like to welcome you all in Ljubljana, those who are from Ljubljana and those who are not. Yesterday, it was a great day for Ljubljana. When we speak about energy, yesterday was a day of great energy. You know how important that is, and because today you are speaking about energy and you do have positive energy, I can say that you will also contribute to the energy of Ljubljana. Now, what can one add as a speaker following the commissioner who had such a rich presentation? Yes, we do have to work actively on the national level, on the European level, but in Ljubljana we know that we also have to act locally. And we must not forget about people, also when we speak about energy. So whenever in Ljubljana we have considerations about any field, we never lose, we always think about the people. In Ljubljana, we managed to improve the quality of life of our people in a very short time. We had to fulfill 12 very strict criteria in order to be awarded the title of the green component capital of Europe, and one of these 12 criteria referred to energy as well. The baseline for that was that in 2006, when Zoran Jankovic made its first campaign, we've already made a development strategy for Ljubljana up to 2025. In 2006, we have not known anything about green capitals, energy efficiency and so on, but at least that was not a part of a major public debate. However, the notions were already in the strategy, so we simply followed those notions. When we listened to the contributions at the COP energy, at the COP conference in Paris, we saw that in Ljubljana, in many instances, we are in line with the general achievements, or even one step ahead. Well, I'm speaking in general terms, but the major point is that we have closed the city center for traffic. We did not want to have less cars in the city, but we wanted to decrease pollution. So we closed the city center for traffic, and now we will introduce 30 new city buses that will be propelled or will be driven, will be propelled by methane. Now, whenever one takes a stroll across Ljubljana, or in Slovenia in general, we see that there is no lack of ideas. People in Slovenia are enthusiastic, they love to work, and they are innovative. And that is why we can now proudly present you an electric train. So we see that in this field, we have plenty of ideas. The BTC company also made a partnership with the Ulon company, and they have conceived a joint project. Ulon, in its production, had a lot of excessive heat. Now this heat is being transferred to the Atlantis swimming pool complex. That is why we now have a closed loop of heat distribution. We are optimizing our energy system whenever we can. We are trying to bring gas to as many households as possible. If not gas, then at least warm water. We are active, so to speak. What is also important is that we have made a research on particles, because dust particles, despite different measures, are being decreased but not fast enough. And taking into account the geographical location of Ljubljana, which is located in a kind of cauldron, we also know that whatever the wind brings to Ljubljana, it also remains here. So we thought the main road through Ljubljana, the Slovenska road, is fairly clean, but the rest of it is not. So how can we improve the situation also in the other parts of Ljubljana? That is the main question. Yesterday in Stožice, 2 commissioners were present, the high-level politicians were present, and all this shows that Ljubljana may show the way forward also when it comes to energy. Currently we are working on landlines, on the upgrading of landlines, and we have a very clear orientation. Landlines must not cross over major settlements. They need to be dug underground. We need to take into account the health of people and also the developments in the natural cycles. Because nature may recover quickly after natural disasters, but people may not. Once I read that the planet produces enough energy for all of us and that this energy is free of charge. We just need to find ways to bring this energy to people. Perhaps that is the only challenge for the future years. I know that you don't have much time at your disposal, but I wish you to manage to achieve as much as possible in as short period of time as possible, just like we did that in Ljubljana. Well, thank you very much for your attention. Now we will go on in line with our program and documents. Allow me to give you some instructions for the continuation of the conference. But first of all, I would like to bid farewell to the minister. The commissioner has already left us. You need to leave us as well due to your other engagements, but thank you for coming. Thank you for being with us.